they are, we understand what they are. I'm not certain that one's going to help me. It's, as a citizen, maybe, as doing our work, I'm not so certain.
Well, it is a hidden cost that we bear unnecessarily. Okay, that's one thing. And if you shine a flashlight on those costs, we can then go and say, okay, here's something that the taxpayers have to pay for, that it's just a cost being forced upon us. Can we do something about this? Not directly, but we can then go to our legislative delegation, be they the House reps or our state senator, and say, this should not be. And we can start saying, if we're supposed to be here to defend the taxpayer, then we can't defend the taxpayer unless we know what that costing is.
But I think and again, I was with you on 4 out of 5 of those, but this one seems like it might be more riding the budget committee's train to answer a personal question. And I'm not with you on that last one.
Well, it's personal in that I'm the only one who's brought it up.
No,
but it's also
maybe a personal philosophy question or whatever. I don't see it related to our day-to-day activities. And so let me just reiterate, I'm with you on getting the information that we need, but I think there's a line that needs to be drawn too in terms of that. So that's my opinion.
Dave? Well, I understand the concerns and I understand the question. I guess I would fall down on the side of we see too many things happening nowadays where laws are enacted, if you want to call them unfunded mandate, et cetera. There's never any pushback, there's acceptance. And where do you get the opportunity to push back? An individual homeowner can't do very much by himself. We do get elected, and if we raise some flags, maybe the town, the school will raise some flags in conjunction with us and give some pushback to the right people to start helping keep some of these things under cost containment that helps everybody. So I see that as a benefit to the taxpayer from that regard.
But is our mandate here to raise flags and push back, or to develop a budget?
I think it's to develop a budget. By the same token, you know, we're also trying to develop a budget that's affordable to the taxpayer, and that's the only part, that's the part where this comes in. Because if, and I don't know that this is the case or not, but if the town and school have gotten used to these unfunded mandates and sort of say, well, what am I going to do? It's throw up your hands. Maybe we light a fire under them by just highlighting them.
Yeah,
I mean, that's a possibility.
I mean, if it turns out to be, 0.5% is due to unfunded mandates, Dale, you'd be absolutely correct. But we don't know the answer to that, and it could be 5, 7, 10%. I tend to think it's more on the school side. But look at it this way. Some bureaucrat in Washington, D.C. just told the town of Guilford, you've got to go out and replace every single road sign in the town. That's not a small cost, and it has to be done. That's an unfunded mandate.
I guess my concern is...
Fluorescent lights.
I guess my concern is that, we're elected here for a fairly specific reason. And I have seen in prior years these meetings become a forum for the airing of personal state and national political philosophies. And I don't think that's what we're here to do. So I guess maybe that's a little red flag that's going up when I hear some of these things. Not all of them.
Well, my concern with it, with this area is, I hear from a number of people, I don't know a lot of people outside here, but I've heard from a number of people saying, Jesus, the cost per student in Guilford is ridiculous. And what they do is they take the total budget divided by the total number of students. It's a very logical way of doing it. I recognize, we've heard Scott Isbell say that's not the way you do it, but it's a very easy way of doing it. It's big number. Well, if it turns out that 30% of that number is caused by unfunded mandates, it may actually help the taxpayer feel better.
Or at least understand it.
Understand that, Jesus, yeah, Guilford's $19,000 plus if you do it the way I said, but look what the federal government's done to them, which we think the federal government has done a lot of that. I mean, to a certain extent, there's some value in that. I can understand where you're coming from, though, if you don't do it from the point of view of trying to do it to cut the budget.
Right, I mean, I'm not even arguing the value of the question. I'm arguing how far we go
Yeah.
with this body here and what we are charged in the RSAs to do. And I think that's a valid discussion, where is that line drawn?
The other thing, I mean, another place I get a lot of input from people on is roads. I mean, I'll bet you I've had 5 people tell me, geez, what the hell is a sand truck going out when we just had a ½ inch of slush? It's a very valid point.
We just had that one the other day, somebody.
Just the other day, and we had sand trucks all over the place. You say, Jesus, you know, it sounds like you're sized for maximum, and therefore you have to use these people someplace. And here I am, a budget committee saying that, and I know what they do. I mean, it is that kind of input which we as elected people do have to deal with. And that's part of the cost per student, which I think has a lot of unfunded mandates here.
I think our job here, we represent the taxpayers to develop a budget and make sure that all the town's commitments are fulfilled, all the schools' commitments, we meet our commitments, but at a reasonable cost and not. In that sense, yeah, you're representing the taxpayer. It's nice to know what, like Skip said, it's nice to know what exactly the unfunded mandate says. That way it would justify if 30% of the school budget was unfunded mandate. I would feel a lot better about the school board, for starters.
You know, the other thing that, on some of these requests, maybe it makes sense to get feedback. Maybe the first thing back from the school is an explanation of what impact that request has on them. I mean, I think that's reasonable.
Yeah, that's reasonable, because if this were a huge, huge workload, we might
Right.
think of it differently.
And please understand, I'm coming down on the side of getting as much information as possible. But, you know, to be quite frank, my concern is the fact that this is not a vehicle for Skip's or anyone else's larger political philosophy, at least in my mind. It's a waste of the rest of our time. So, but if that information can be germane to what we're charged to do, and that the request isn't going to create some huge
Yeah, I don't want to add an extra
thing on their
person
end,
to
then
get our
fine.
data.
Yeah, then I'm dandy.
No, but as Dick has also said many times, we are made up of a very diverse group of people
Yeah.
Which
that
is
has
good.
of a lot of different interests as to how this budget is put together. And yes, I will admit, I have a definite viewpoint of how things, I believe, should work. And it's my job to convince you, Dale, that you're wrong and I'm right. I don't have much success most of the time, so I'll take the 4 out of 5 comment from you.
I think that was good.
80%, I'm good.
Well, why don't we,
I'm sorry?
Is that it?
we'll try the data on, and we'll also try and get an understanding of what the workload is on it. I mean, I worried more about the first one than any of the other ones.
Yeah.
How
So-
much, if you're gonna recreate a whole, I mean, if they can do it easily, because, relatively easily, because it's in the computer and all you have to do is sort it, that's one thing. If they have to redo a lot of stuff, that would be difficult.
I mean, normally what I have done to switch the viewpoint from a department to a functional, I break the key apart. It's not that big of a deal, but it's still time that I have to do. If they're pulling it out of the computer, they can certainly go by sub-line item and generate it that
Well,
way.
I think it's worthwhile getting their input on that. The
Yes.
first way to do it is ask them a question, see what they say.
Yeah.
So, can we adjourn now?
Yeah.
Still right.
I was just wondering if Skip had anything else.
Well, I think you've hit the items. We're with you on them so far, unless I think the underlying thing is how they'll give us an input if it's a big number.
Yeah.
Kevin's hungry.
Yeah,
If they understand that's their.
yeah.
Is this something we're gonna vote on, or is this just something that,
Well, it's an example of what kind of data we're gonna request,
Oh,
is the
okay,
way
I'm
I
sorry.
looked at it. So you have a motion on the table?
Move to adjourn?
Yeah.
point of order?
Yeah.
I'd like to make one more comment if I could. I'd like to come back to the public agencies. There's one thing we don't do as a town, and I meant to bring this up before. There is a requirement that monies is for public purposes only. And I just want to read what it says on the municipal budgeting book here. Receipt of public money entails an obligation to benefit the public. I don't think there's any argument that money to private agencies benefit the public. Public money can be appropriated only for valid public purposes, not to create private benefit. This issue can be confusing because even sometimes a public benefit does not constitute a public purpose. While the public might benefit from the use of municipal appropriations to a private entity, such as an ambulance service, the public purpose requirement means that municipalities have to go one step further. We don't do that. And secure the ability to enforce or obtain the benefit for the public. We only take their word. We don't have any way of monitoring the money that goes to the, to these private agencies. I'm just throwing that out on the table, is that although we're appropriating the money, giving it the money, we as a town or whoever is not following through on what is the last key component of what the law implies.
Are we reading that from
I can't tell you that, Kev.
It kind
No one's
of goes,
required that book, by the way.
well, it kind of goes
I
back.
can't tell you that either, Kev. No, this is from, it's available through the local government center, basic law of budgeting for towns, village districts, school districts, and, no, it doesn't say anything else on there. That's it.
No, it goes back to what you said for years, Dick. I agree, I would rather see us, if necessary, double the welfare department so that we know where the money is expended. I mean, last year we came up with that item
Are you suggesting that?
and not give it to the private
Are you
agencies.
suggesting that we hire hospice workers and, we could go down the list? I mean, I think we're,
No, my point is have the welfare people give it to those towns.
One part-time welfare person.
yeah.
Well,
One part-time.
from a philosophical
That's a
standpoint,
tough one.
I mean, we've gone that way. But for instance, one of the things that came up was I think we paid for some cable services.
I remember that.
And that definitely, I'm sorry, that caused a little bit of a buzz, and I think rightfully so.
So I think Sue brought that.
That's correct.
Well, and
We still don't know how much was expended on something like that. Because the comment was, well, it's only $29 a month. And I'm sorry, it's not needed.
It's supposed to be for
Right.
welfare
But
expenses.
that
Yeah.
was in the
Basic
welfare budget.
Yeah,
That was in the welfare budget. We have control over that one.
right. And that's the point I'm trying to make, Phyllis.
Yes, but if we're going to give her health and hospice, Janice, mental health,
No, my point would be to rely on her to say, this one's good, this one's bad, this one we fund, this one
but we don't
fund.
have to do that anymore.
back where we
It's
were
not our job.
I was just commenting on the accountability.
Okay.
That's all that I'm saying too,
Yeah.
is there is the ability to take public funds for those types of purposes, but we don't follow through and do everything that we're supposed to do.
And you don't think the state or the county monitors these agencies before they
I
license them?
don't-
All these people have to be licensed.
Phyllis, I don't know. I'm saying is that is the one key link that we don't have, is the accountability or understanding of what happens. And we go on their word, and I suspect they're good, honest people that says, we're spending this, or we're giving this to this individual or group of people, and that they're doing a good thing. I'm not trying to disparage that, but I am trying to say is there is no accountability, and the rules or the laws say that there is supposed to be, and we lose that.
Well, take community health and hospital, CAP. We are not the only CAP in the state. They have to be licensed by the state to set up a program.
Yeah, but this is tough.
Those are
Well,
two
we're
different
not gonna
things
talk
now.
about these
Well,
things.
yeah, but that's the point.
Yeah.
Somebody-
The state makes them accountable for the money they get from the state. I think Dave's saying that the town should make them accountable for the money they take from the town.
You know, we see things that come back and say that X agency helped 100 people, or Y agency put $100. I believe that, and that may be valuable service, and maybe we're getting, as a town, more in return, but that's not an audit trail.
Okay. Fred, you had something? No, okay. Is there a second to the motion?
I did, I had seconded it
Oh,
already.
okay.
I'm done.
Okay, and I will pass on the notes of this to Sandy, and she'll get them out to everybody. All right,
See you when we see you?
yeah, so I will, yeah, we're off till, probably the 1st of October.
I think so, for the town.
October, September.
Yeah, normally the town's budget comes in right around the 1st of October. All right, thanks a lot,
You'll let us know
Kent.
about your